Good morning, Priscilla. This is Professor Anderson with a little bit of feedback for your writing assignment number 1. I'll share with you the rubric for this, and this can be found at the bottom of the assignment folder. The rubric is broken into 3 main sections as it comes up. Sorry, it's taking a little time. The description of your workplace setting, the definitions, the table of communications, and the paragraph on communications. I'm sorry, there's 4 sections. So each of these sections states a very specific area that I'm looking into when I'm evaluating your writing assignment. So it's always good to take a look at the rubric prior to beginning a writing assignment. So if I take a look at yours, you have all 4 sections. I see you give a good introduction to the place where you work, the type of communication, you identify the inhibitors, and you use what's called parallel structure. You put it in the same format for all 4 of them. And then you give some examples from 3 of those 4 that you've identified. So you give very specific inside of this chart. You give us very detailed explanation of what was happening. You name the inhibitor, and then you give a discussion of why that inhibitor is labeled as such, and you give the overall organizational rating. So you have all of the components that are there. I want to go back and share with you some things that stuck out for me that you want to revisit. And these are all grammar issues. So there are 3 specific grammar issues I want you to take a look at. One is called run-on and or fragment sentences. So either it's a full sentence or it's not a full sentence. The second is subject-verb agreement, where the subject, whether it's singular or possessive, or plural, matches the type of verb that you've used in the sentence, so that the verb is either single or plural. And the third one is what's called parallel structure, so that items in a series are listed in the same format. So let me give you just a couple of examples, and then I'll share with you some tips on how to correct these. Let's take a look at these just first 2 sentences. And the thing that I like to do is to read them very slowly, word for word. I find that I recognize areas of concern more immediately when I do read them clearly and slowly. I work for Medical Evaluation Board Department for the Navy Sailors and Marines. The department is provided services for active member that have been injury or disease occurred during time in service. So if we just take a look at those first 2 sentences. In the first sentence, you should have we need to make sure that we have what's called parallel structure going. So you're out talking with either Navy, you want to say like, I work for the Medical Evaluation Board Department, and these would be all 4 of these capitalized. For the Navy and Marines. If you're using Navy as one of the departments of or one of the branches of service, and then identifying the type of service member in there, and then Marines and not identifying the person, that's what's considered not parallel. The next one says, so I would recommend sentence number 1, I work for the Medical capital Evaluation capital Board capital Department capital for the Navy and Marines. And you want to check the spelling here. Next sentence, the department provides, is provided, does not work. You have a singular and a past tense. You have a present tense and a past tense verb structure there that does not work. The department provides services for active members, there's more than one members, who have been injured or have disease occur during, I would say the department provides services for active members who have been injured during their time in service, period. So some of the things that I think might help with you is 1, proofread your rough draft and check those 3 areas that I suggested. Subject-verb agreement, where if you have a singular subject, you need to have a singular verb. Run-on and sentence fragments, so that you know that your sentence has a subject and a verb, and that it contains one thought and one idea, and that your items are in parallel structure so that they match, like here where you have Navy, sailors, and Marines. You want to make sure that items in a series or things in a row have the same structure. If I always recommend passing off a paper to someone who does not know your assignment parameters, someone who's unfamiliar with it, because then they are able to, oftentimes they're able to see the inconsistencies a little more clearly. So I look forward to reading your final copy.